A free terminal tool just knocked a $9 billion AI coding product off the top spot. Not a slick new IDE, not a VC-backed startup with a waitlist. A CLI built by the team behind SST, serverless framework your backend probably already runs on. And the question worth sitting with is this: how does an open source command line agent beat a $9 billion valuation? Because the answer tells you exactly where this entire market is heading. This is OpenCode. And the numbers are not subtle. 160,000 GitHub stars, 7.5 million monthly active developers, 827 releases, and v1.17 dropped yesterday. Cursor raised at a $9 billion valuation in May and took 18 months to build comparable developer adoption. OpenCode did it in roughly a year, by refusing to play the vendor lock-in game everyone else is playing. But this isn't just a cool open source story. GitHub Copilot blew up its own pricing model on June 1st, switched every subscriber to usage-based billing mid-cycle, and paused new signups entirely. Claude Code is genuinely excellent, but it is Anthropic only. Codex requires OpenAI. Every proprietary tool is also a subscription to that company's pricing decisions. When those decisions change, and they always change, you are along for the ride. Therefore, OpenCode walks in and offers the one thing none of them do: bring your own model. Claude, GPT 5.5, Gemini, DeepSeek, Grok, local Ollama, 75 plus providers from a single config file. MIT license, 0 subscription. You pay only for the tokens you actually use. Install it with a one-liner, point it at any provider via an interactive auth step, and you can run it against Claude Opus 4 1 minute and Qwen 3-72b the next. Switch models mid-session. Run multiple agents in parallel on the same project. This is not something Cursor lets you do. And here's the capability no other tool matches. OpenCode integrates language server protocol natively. That means the model isn't reading your code as flat text. It's getting actual type information, function signatures, and live compiler diagnostics fed back into its own loop mid-task. In head-to-head testing, it generated 21 more tests on average than Claude Code running on the same underlying model, because it can see the failures and fix them before it even reports back. But let's be honest about what OpenCode gives up. It is 78% slower than Claude Code on the same underlying model. That's a real benchmark, not marketing. Anthropic has spent serious engineering time on latency. The speed gap is real. There's also a privacy footnote worth tracking. Hacker News flagged that session title prompts are sent to OpenCode's cloud even when you're running fully local models. GitHub issue 16117 is the one to watch for progress on a cleaner offline mode. It's open. It's being discussed. It's not solved yet. Therefore, the real question becomes, which constraint do you care about more? Speed and polish for complex autonomous tasks, or independence from vendor pricing decisions? If you need speed and polish for complex autonomous tasks, Claude Code is still the quality ceiling. That hasn't changed. But if you're managing AI coding costs across multiple providers, working in a regulated environment, or you just watched GitHub Copilot reprice itself at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, OpenCode is the answer the open source community built because no one else would. Start with a simple config file. Set your default to Claude Sonnet 4.6. Wire in your Anthropic and OpenAI API keys as environment variables. Run it on a project where you actually care about test coverage. Watch the LSP feedback loop produce work that autocomplete tools simply cannot touch. And if your team is in a regulated environment where Cursor and Copilot are blocked by policy, OpenCode can go fully air-gapped with local Ollama. No outbound calls, no data residency nightmares. Here's the contrarian take nobody else is making. OpenCode's rise signals that the AI coding tool market is about to split into two distinct tiers: a proprietary tier where you pay premium prices for seamless vendor integration, and an open tier where developers own their entire toolchain and route different task types to different models based on cost, speed, and compliance. The open tier just got a flagship, which brings us back to where we started. A free MIT licensed CLI versus a $9 billion valuation, and the CLI is winning. That's not a fluke. That's the market telling you something about what developers actually want when vendor pricing decisions stop being their problem to absorb. But here's the part that should actually keep you up at night. There is an active supply chain attack called the Orchid campaign, and it is poisoning 100,000 GitHub repositories. It's specifically targeting AI coding agents like this one, and most developers running OpenCode right now are walking straight into it. That's tomorrow. Subscribe so you don't miss it, because this one directly affects your workflow. Sources in the description: OpenCode.ai, LogRocket's June 2026 AI Dev Tool rankings, and the Terminal Bench 2.1 leaderboard for the benchmark numbers. If you found this useful, the algorithm responds pretty well to a like. See you tomorrow.